I think what would set me apart in a personal space, especially given we are doing IR, is that I love reading philosophy and poetry, and especially these days and after joining the IRSS program. So my interest has been philosophy, and I plan on doing a PhD in philosophy and IR one day. I think the learning would be that myth is real. So fantasy, myths, the great myths we'll learn about Odyssey, Mahabharata, in a very poetical manner, they represent profound truths, that we experience at a very deeper level in our day-to-day lives. So I think that would be the learning that I want to share. Yeah. Oh, I was amazed. I was happy because I wanted to do an online program, and I was pretty adamant, this is it. So this is what I want to do, and I hadn't applied anywhere else. So, I was pretty happy when I got in here. When I was applying to the university, I wanted to be a diplomat. I was preparing for the UPSC exam, but that changed after I came into the IRSS program. So in the beginning 3 months, we had 2 programs. One was diplomatic practice, and the other one was international relations theory. So I was pretty, decided I'll do diplomatic practice. I'll focus on that. But what changed was, both were brilliant courses, but diplomatic practice, while being brilliant, gave me a realization, diplomacy is not for me. I like debating too much, so maybe diplomacy was not the right profession. But international relations theory, that course gave me a full different perspective on things. Theory is something usually people think is completely divorced from everyday life. It's something that people do in high towers in universities. I found it to be otherwise, and that is how that was completely transformative. I then left UPSC preparation, committed myself to research, and from then my primary interest was in the Mahabharata, and how we could learn more about IR from the Mahabharata, and that has only grown once I entered IRSS program. So, the research is still going on. There is a lot to read. So, but once on the face of it, we have disciplines: international relations, political science, philosophy, and they seem very different. But the more you read, you realize that disciplinary boundaries are kind of bogus. So once you read more, disciplinary boundaries would resolve everything, connects to everything at the end. So much of IR is borrowed from what we know as quite literally the cliche Western political canon, begins from Machiavelli, Hobbes, Locke, then goes on to modern day IR scholars like Mearsheimer, Waltz. What I wanted to do was explore a non-Western pathway. So let's say if international relations theory was based on the philosophy of Advaita Vedanta rather than, let's say, a Hobbesian worldview. So what were the implications for international relations then? Or would we still think that nation states are the primary actors in the world? Like, for example, Rabindranath Tagore felt the concept of the nation at the root is divisive, and he himself being a Vedantist. So what if we think everything is connected at the end, so what is the primary political reality on which we act? So I think if you just root international relations in a different philosophy, things change. So that is what I will try to do in my PhD. Let's see how international relations and diplomacy how negotiations can be different if we base it on, for example, the Bhagavad Gita and the concept of Nishkam Karma. So that is what I'll be exploring in my PhD. And IRSS has a big role to play in that. My research journey began with the IR theory course actually in IRSS. So the instructor, Professor Deepshika Shahi, she does research on non-dualist philosophical systems like Advaita, Sufism, and she has also worked on Kautilya's Arthashastra, which is not non-dualist, which means we do not see difference in self and other. So she also worked on other Indian philosophical systems and texts like the Mahabharata. So I reached out to her after the course ended. So I live in Panipat, so the campus is pretty nearby. So she asked me to come for a lecture on campus, and we had this lecture by Professor Navnita Behra. She's a professor at DU, and she wrote a paper on how Dharma traditions could influence IR, and we learned about the Mahabharata in it. So I came for the lecture. I kept coming again and again every week. And then she gave me the opportunity to write a paper with her, which we then presented as part of Project Udbhav, which is Ministry of Defence's project right now, or to revive indigenous knowledge systems. So we presented a paper on the similarities between Adi Shankara, who is who is the proponent of Advaita, the most famous proponent of Advaita Vedanta, and a pre-Socratic philosopher called Parmenides of Elea, and how their philosophies could influence international relations. So that was the first paper I wrote. Then I presented a paper on diplomacy in the Mahabharata for her center itself. It's a Center for the Study of Global International Relations at JGU. And then I used to work under her regularly. I used to come to Jindal, attend few classes. I also attended a few classes in Indian philosophy at Jindal. And then we would often discuss about things. We had a very good group of students who would bring ideas together on the table. So then I got the opportunity to work with International Relations, one of the most famous websites for IR. It has a readership of 10 million globally, and I worked with renowned scholars from around the world, editing their work, corresponding with them on a daily basis. And so there is a very well-known scholar, Ned Labo, in our field. So the very first time I joined EIR, I emailed him. I did not expect a response, but since EIR is a reputed platform, I heard back in a few hours, and then we discussed for one full day, kept on exchanging emails. He himself was born in Nazi Germany, and escaped. He did not escape. He was a child back then, but while his parents could not survive, he was lucky enough. Somebody took him out of there. So we had whole lot of discussions. Then a lot of discussions with other renowned scholars. So EIR shaped my research journey in a big way, and of course IRSS had a lot to contribute. And then I focused my efforts towards writing 2 papers, which are still I'm writing those papers. And my first paper focuses on Dara Shikoh, Aurangzeb's elder brother. He wrote a set of 20 books on the affinities between Hinduism and Islam, and I explore how they could have implications for interreligious harmony in the world. And another paper is a methodology paper, a methodology that I'm proposing as an alternative to what we call contrapuntal reading in international relations. So they would be, they'll go for review in a few months. So let's see how it goes.